I was always told when I was a kid, it was gonna be one of two things. I was either gonna be like a salesperson or a lawyer. That's what it was always said.
Oh my God, they have to clear him out. They can't do it. Face clan with the...
They're gonna get in. They're gonna get past 249, 247.
That is it. Team Caliber getting done. Those three.
My name is Clint Evans. I go by Maven in the Call of Duty community. I am a commentator for Call of Duty esports, and I love it. Yeah, I remember video games were in my life pretty early because my uncle was a giant nerd. He worked in like computer tech and stuff, and he got me into games really young. And from there on, man, I loved it so much. And it was tough. I was trying to juggle, girlfriends and sports and all these video games with friends. And it's, well, it was easy back then when you had a lot more energy. When you're that young, it was fun. I've always been able to talk, and obviously that has come to fruition now as I'm a commentator and I'm literally paid to talk. But in high school, for me, as far as my future, I didn't really have any idea. I mean, you sometimes hear people like, go to school for business. Like, that's sort of what my parents, like, they were just like, you need to get a degree. You need to go to college. Like, there was no way I wasn't going to college. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Like, I had to go to college. And I wanted to at the time. But when you get to college and suddenly, you have this strict background, and then suddenly you're adjusting to this different way of life versus what you had in high school, where your parents are basically looking over your every move, it creates issues because you're not allowed, you go from not allowed to do anything, and then you get to school, your parents aren't there, you're living in a dorm, you can do whatever you want. And I just think the fact that I didn't experience any kind of, just anything that a lot of the other kids were doing kind of when I was in high school, that I really just sort of went nuts when I got to college. It was bad for me because then, I was missing all my 8 a.m. classes early. I remember I had my first semester, I think I had like a 1.2 GPA. I remember a letter got sent home. I fixed it down the road, but it was just tough, man. It's a whole different world when you don't have parental guidance and suddenly you're just thrown out into the world in college. So in college, I started going to more of these MLG events. I met so many great people. One guy I got tied to pretty close, he was Gandhi. I think at the time, I was like 21, I think he was like 16, but I guess it didn't really matter how old you were with this stuff. Like, if you were good at the games, like, you just sort of, it didn't matter. If you were cool and you were in that sort of like esports gaming, competitive gaming clique, as long as you were good at the game, as long as you can compete, like, we were all hanging out, playing against each other, and I built a lot of friendships that way. It's years down the road, I've had a couple of jobs out of college, and Gandhi and I had stayed in touch over the years, right? We texted each other, phone calls, like, we'll play games together online from time to time. And it's when streaming was starting to blow up on Twitch. Like, everyone was starting to do the streaming thing, not as big as it is now, but it was starting to get there. And he hits me up, he's like, yo, bro, you wanna stream together? You wanna play some games together? I was like, okay, yeah, why not? It sounds fun. I wasn't doing anything at the time, I was unemployed. I need to figure out what's next. I had no idea what to do. I was just getting more and more in debt. Gandhi ended up basically letting me live on his couch for, it had to have been a year or two. I went to a store and bought a mattress. I was living on a mattress without a sheet, just sleeping on that for like a year. I was like $25,000 in credit card debt. Like, everything was spiraling out of control as we were trying to make this casting thing work. We were grinding, we were putting in the time, not getting paid a penny, and eventually it turned into a full-time position, but it took ages. It was definitely probably the darkest period of my life, those couple of years for sure. Yeah, so Golden Boy was casting Call of Duty at an event, and we were in the same building for a different game. So he's casting Call of Duty, we're having some fun, and Golden was like, why don't you guys come over and cast a map? And if that moment didn't happen, I don't know if any of it does. It's just funny to think back about your life, and I think people can say this for just about anything, but how I got to this point, from where I was, it's just a million little things. Like, some of it, yeah, passion, hard work, but just, it's also the mistakes and the screw-ups and the luck. Life's weird. I think the time that it really clicked for me that commentating would be my future was, I think the first time I commentated, I'm not even kidding. I remember we did it, and like, it was still rough. I was really nervous the first time I did it. I remember I had to cast this event with Walshy, and Walshy was one of someone that's looked up to so much. He was one of the best console FPS gamers of all time, and I had to cast with him, and I was like, dude, you were basically my hero, but let's get through this. And I was so nervous, I screwed up a bunch of stuff, but afterwards, it just hit me like I could be really, really good at this. At the time, there weren't a lot of very good commentators. Like there were some people doing it, but no one came up with like a commentary background. People weren't going to college for it. Like it was just pretty raw, right? I know that the two that I really want to model myself after, and Gandhi and I worked, it was Tasteless and Artosis. Tastosis that did StarCraft, known as maybe the greatest commentary duo of all time. I just wanted to be like them. I mean, it was a combination of things. It was the first time I commentated, and watching them commentate StarCraft. I was so into StarCraft at the time that I was like, I can do that. I just watched it, I was like, I know I can do that. And here I am. Streaming's been a lot of fun. It's great to interact with the CWL community, whether I'm playing Blackout or League play. They come in with a lot of questions around the Call of Duty World League. So that's been very cool. And I can be myself a bit more, whether it's the language or just goofing off kind of with the viewers versus, the professionalism I need to have on the broadcast. So it's been a lot of fun to have kind of both sides of that and show people a little bit more how I am when I'm just kind of chilling and being myself. This is my streaming setup. I know that I look like an idiot, but I've been trying to be consistent. I was nominated for Broadcaster of the Year in 2017. I didn't win, but 2018 they asked me to come out again, and I won. I'll never forget when I first heard it. I was like, shut up. I thought they were messing with me. And it was, it's a night I'll never forget. It was very, very cool, because it's one thing, I mean, fans will tweet you on Twitter like, oh, you're my favorite commentator, you're the best commentator. Like, it's one thing to like hear that from a fan, but to get that recognition from the panel of voters on there and get it from your peers, who doesn't love that? I mean, to just have people vote you as the best in something at what you do. It was very, very cool, and yeah, something I'll never forget. I get asked all the time, how long are you in a cast? I don't want to go anywhere. Like, I love it. I'm happy. Like, I love this job so much. I love the players. I love the community. I love this franchise. I'm happy. Like, I want to do this as long as I can. Like, I want to go down as the greatest. I would love to just do this. I want when people turn on the CWL, they know they're going to see my big-ass egg-shaped head. I'll do it as long as I can. I plan to die on camera. I want to be how I go out. Mid-hard point. 250, 249, and my ass is dead. Heart stops beating. That's what I want.